What are you referring to when you say that we don't need to adjust for group differences when we're comparing China and the United States?
Uh, East Asians have a mean IQ that's a little higher than European American IQ, and other ethnic groups have a lower uh, average. And these are the most controversial aspects of intelligence research. These group differences are a very, very minor proportion of modern IQ or intelligence research. They're not that interesting anymore. They used to be interesting because people wanted to try to identify cultural or social variables that were responsible for these differences, with the idea that maybe you could impact culture and sociological variables and minimize these differences. But over time, that hasn't gone anywhere. The differences are pretty stable, uh, and whether genes have anything to do with it is very controversial. Another area where people say it's just so complicated, we can never really say that that would be true. And even if it is true, we don't know what's going on, and it interacts with environment, and it's just complicated. So it's an area that I don't know what the future of that area is. But even leaving those mean differences aside and not adjusting, countries like India and China have an enormous number of people working at a higher level than smaller countries. Now, you can compensate this for this. You can say, well, this country has a smaller number of people, but they have better education, or they somehow culturally they induce more creativity, which is important. So again, a lot of factors involved here, but certainly intelligence is one important factor.
Hmm. And is the research on these group differences then not not a big proportion of research today because one, the data is settled, but then two, uh, explaining the etiology of the data is too complex that it's just not dealt with?
Well, the psychometricians who used to be interested, by and large, are no longer interested because the differences are stable. They're there. Nobody really uh, denies that the differences exist. And as to what causes the difference, there have been attempts to find sociological variables or environmental variables. So, something like lead is certainly an important variable in poor
Like
neighborhoods.
lead in drinking water?
Well, lead in Flint, Michigan. Yes, these are all important things, but the research that's moving on is asking questions more like what, whatever genes are involved in any population, any discrete population that might influence intelligence, are they the same genes that are involved in a different population? So polygenic scores might equally predict in two populations, but they might weight or have different SNPs as part of the score. So there's a lot still to learn here. Um, and for a long time there was some reluctance to even collect data on some populations. People were worried about that. Now there's a big drive to get as much DNA data as possible to answer questions like that. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things, and a lot for public discussion.